Welcome back. Today we're fixing dents and filling pinholes. Let's get into it. So I'm going to chase down these pinholes. I was really tempted just to put JB Weld in them, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it the right way and use metal. And then I also remember that I need to knock down this high spot. I got one high spot right here. I'm going to grab the shrinking disc and try to shrink that after we fill these pinholes. I've been looking for this thing. I almost gave up hope and ordered another one. Here we go. Okay, I did some welding and some grinding. I can see a pinhole coming through, so I'm going to put one more weld on there. I'm going to do it now before it's ground flush, because it should be a little bit sturdier with all this like hunky weld on here. Anyways, hopefully we get this done without having to do this too many times. Enjoying watching this video and you want to follow along with the builds, consider hitting like and subscribe. And also, if you want to drop a comment, I'll get back to you. Alright, all in all, not my finest work, but I did get all the pinholes covered up. There's some weird lumpy spots. There's a couple weird pits, but they're not pinholes. I had trouble getting this really flush because the metal is uneven here. I have this lumpy egg right here that we're going to bring down with the shrinking disc. And then also I have a bunch of worn out Rolock discs. I usually buy a ton of these at one time, and I haven't bought any since I moved, and it's time to get more. And I'm just not exactly sure where to get these in the town I'm in. But anyways, not a huge deal, but it would have been easier if I had some fresh ones. Anyways, this is looking okay. I'm going to hit a couple more pinholes, and then we're going to get the shrinking disc and try to shrink down this high spot. Alright, things are looking okay. I have a couple more pinholes right underneath the fold of this drip rail. And I remember this was a problem when I was putting the roof clip back together. The problem is there's a fold right on top of that pinhole. to grind it away in a way that is going to look good is going to be difficult. I fired up the air compressor and I busted out my little mini cutoff wheel. These cutoff wheels are not really the right tool for the job, but they kind of fit in this crevice a little bit better than anything else I have. See how that kind of gets down in there? But I have to be so careful with it because if I go too far, I'm cutting away good metal and just making a total mess. Anyways, let's get to work. I just laid down some die chem. I forgot to film it, but you guys have seen that before. If you go back to the beginning of the channel, you can see me lay this down. Interesting note, this stuff smells way too good. I don't know why they make these really toxic products smell so good, but it seems kind of like a setup. So I have 3 high spots I'm going to knock down. I can feel where they're high, but it's not going to show up on camera, so I laid down the die chem just to make it easier for myself and for you to see. So in 1 second, I'm going to sand this down to reveal the high spots, and then we'll grab the shrinking disc and we'll start shrinking it down. going on. I used the shrink disc on these high spots, and they are going down a little bit, but unfortunately the high spots are centered right on these welds, and the welded area is really strong. It's not as pliable as a regular piece of steel. So there isn't really access behind the panel for dolly and hammer. Let's see if you can see it. Because this inner structure is in the way. But this dolly just kind of barely fits between the roof skin and the inner structure. So I'm going to try to do some dolly and hammer work with this behind it. See if you guys can kind of see. Man, it's an awkward angle. I don't want to use studs and the puller on this because the metal is already so weak. I think I'm just going to end up making a mess if I put some studs in here. So my goal is to just get the high spots down and make sure it's within tolerance to put a little bit of filler on it. Let's get to it.
I think you put too much clothes in the washing machine. It's making some real loud noises.
Wait, what? What? Alright, I did a bunch of work off camera. Basically, I was just going back and forth between the shrink disc and hammer and dolly. I got all the high spots down to where they should be. The only thing left are some low spots. It's looking a lot better over here. This is actually like 3 or 4 patches, so all the corners of these patches are sunken in a little bit. Again, there's no access behind the panel, so I can't hammer out to push it up. I could put a stud in here and stud pull it, but this metal is so weak, I really feel like I'm just going to pull it apart and make a giant mess if I try to stud pull this. So I put a straight edge up to it. It looks like I'm within my 1/8 inch tolerance. I think most filler is 1/8 inch max. You don't want to go thicker than that because it's going to either crack out or have some other kind of problem. But it looks like we're within that tolerance. So that being said, I'm going to move on. I have one dimpled in spot right here. This metal is good back here, but there isn't access from the back. But because the metal is good, I am just going to stud pull this out a little bit. There aren't any patches in the way, and I don't think this metal was super pitted on the inside. So I'm just going to clean this up, put some studs in, pull it out a little bit, and then the roof should be in pretty good shape. Alright, so I don't have any new copper studs. I kind of forgot about this, but not that big of a deal. So that means we're not going to use the stud welder. We're actually just going to use the MIG welder and just manually meld some... Did I say melder? We're going to use the MIG welder and just manually weld some of these to the dent. Yeah, I did this in an earlier video, and I also just found these little attachments from the trim hole dent trick video. These were really handy. If you haven't seen that video, check it out sometime. All right, let's weld some of these on. Alright, I think that went pretty well. I went really slow. I didn't show that on camera, but I paused between like every 1 or 2 studs. One of them I somehow messed up. I couldn't really see out my mask very well because it was so dirty before I cleaned it. I put way too much weld on this one. If you can see. Well, I guess it's really hard to see on camera. Anyways, the rest look okay. I was trying to be careful not to put too much weld on this metal because that's just going to make it not pliable and it's going to make it hard to pull this dent out, but I think I did okay. Anyways, we're going to pull this out and see how it goes. This one's gonna break off too. Alright, I just removed the studs, got it ground down, and it looks really good. I don't even think I'm going to do another pass of studs. I thought I'd grind them off and take a look and maybe have to do a few more, but I don't know, it looks so good, I'm just going to leave it like that. We're definitely within range. If I weld more studs on it, I'm probably just going to run more of a chance of sinking in the metal from putting too much heat into it, so I'm cool with leaving it like this. I'm really happy with it. Okay, it's a couple days later. I've slept on it. I was really happy with the way the stud pulling came out over here. And coming back to this, I'm really still not happy with it. So I'm going to put in the extra time and at least sink a couple studs into it. Right here, I have a pretty low spot. And right there, I have a pretty low spot. The rest looks pretty reasonable, but if I can get these 2 spots pulled up just a little bit more, we'll be in really good shape. So let's give it a shot. Alright, I pulled this area out. It's looking pretty good. It's definitely looking better. I just need to finish grinding it down. This area, I pulled it out a little bit and it helped, but this weld right here started to crack. I think you guys can kind of see that. So I'm not going to go any further. I'm just going to weld this crack back up, grind it down, and call it good. I had to walk away and come back to this a few times and do a bunch of work off camera to finally get it to a point where I feel good. It really just looked so bad, it left me feeling distraught, but finally, after a few more sessions, I'm feeling good about this. That's it today. Thanks for watching. I believe in you. Get to wrenching. Peace.